welcome to a Writer's Secrets article series entitled Buckingham Palace, a Harvard Tie, Lady Whitby, and a State Secret by Dr. Jeffrey Lant. Dr. Lant?
Thank you, Patrice, and good day, everyone. I'm sharing with you a very special article. We use this article in our writers program because it is a model about how to write about your own life. Also, it happens to be a damn good story, and I can assure you it's true in every word. I looked in the mirror this evening, really looked. I wanted to see what remains of the audacious boy who nearly 50 years ago went to London, stuck a feather in his hat, and called it macaroni. I am glad to report there are still flecks of latent youth to be seen and enjoyed, and in this article I shall share the remains with you, for it is a tale worth telling, hearing, even to getting up at 4 a.m. on a chill, windy night to do so. Such a tale, of course, demands grand music, waltz music, the kind that sets you reminiscing every time you hear it, each hearing resurrecting that boy, that day, and the opportunity to feel all over again that thrilling reaffirmation that I was there, that I walked those stairs, and that the band played on just for me, proving in every note that I was a good long way from Downers Grove, Illinois, Main Street. And so I give you the Embassy Waltz from My Fair Lady, Lerner Lowe, 1964. The Boy Who Asked. My mother used to say, and say with insistent relief and admonition, that if you are not invited to the party, invite yourself. And on this basis I have prospered, whilst watching the less determined founder and catch only what they could be glimpsed through a window locked tight against them. That, I tell you, has never been my problem and never will be. I am proud of it. Honi soit, qui mal y pense. U.S. Ambassador Walter Annenberg, my angel. I am renowned for having multiple schemes afoot at any given time, and these auspicious days in London were no exception. Thus, each morning, after the post had arrived, and while breadcrumbs still littered my desk, I set about the task of answering every piece of correspondence that might prove helpful to my PhD dissertation, dealing with how the Royal Brits created the unbeatable standard for public ceremonies. They were not merely adept, not just superb, they were quite literally awesome. Though that is by no means how they started, as my dissertation conclusively proved, which made it front page news all over this seat of kings, this England. In this connection, I wrote to Ambassador Annenberg to see what assistance His Excellency might provide. No one told me to do this. I just did it, with, as it turns out, spectacular results. These results were assisted and took flight with the smooth polish of Robert Montgomery Scott, key aide to the ambassador, as civilized a man as I have ever met. Thus, to meet him, I trekked to the American Embassy in Grosvenor Square, eagerly absorbing everything placed before me, no detail too small, no detail too insignificant. And so he asked me whether I would like to attend the Queen's next garden fete as a member of the ambassador's official party. I didn't need to be asked twice, and my thanks today are as profound and lavish as they were that day. The Lord Chamberlain requests. When one is young, socially climbing, shrewdly adept at evaluating the value of everything and everyone, your fireplace mantle is the visual epicenter of your progress. For there your visitors look to see how far you have come and who is seeking the pleasure of your company. Where, when, carefully scrutinized, their relationship to you determined accordingly. In this constantly moving universe, nothing remains as it was. In this process, an invitation from Her Majesty trumps a whole deck of lesser folk. That is why the very minute my bit of engraved cardboard arrived in hand-addressed outsized envelope, I sauntered down to the office of the London House, Mecklenburg Square, to let it be casually known that my social standing had just surged even amongst the scoffing ruggerbuggers who lived to lark and deride. Oh yes, the envy was palpable, positively green to all, but especially to the colonel retired who administered the residence. After a lifetime of service to the Windsors, he wasn't invited, thereby exacerbating an already very touchy situation, for Madame, his wife, was expert at making this good man miserable, the pinched, pained look her métier and potent weapon. She made it a point to congratulate me on my coup, in such a way that her good and patient lord squirmed, all too aware of his ample inadequacies. How had I been invited, she wanted to know. God forgive me if perhaps I left the indelible impression that the ambassador was an old family friend. Not. And so, resplendent in regulation morning dress, top hat and tails the finest money could rent at Moss Brothers, all de rigueur except for the silk tie at my throat, I decided to wear my Harvard tie. Who would notice the difference anyway? I'm going to Buckingham Palace. After the obligatory photographs were taken, if they could see me now, I waded into the traffic to snag a taxi and the soon-to-be ecstatic driver. Nobody had to tell him where we were going. My clothes said it all. I gave him the vehicle pass, which allowed us through the great gates to the palace, a scene known worldwide. We're going to Buckingham Palace. Indeed, we were, each for the first time. My driver maneuvered us into the most fashionable of traffic jams, each entry a chauffeur-driven limousine, transporting the luckiest people in London that radiant summer day. Office holders in billowing gowns and highly burnished gold chains designating consequence. Ladies in extravagant flower hats, a milliner's dream. Plus royaliste que le roi. His Honor, the Mayor of Reading, Mrs. Templeton Smythe, and Miss Templeton Smythe, fidgeting with her braces, while the brilliant caravan moved at snail's pace from Trafalgar Square up the Mall. We're going to Buckingham Palace. The only guest delivered by taxi. The happy crowd along the way pointed at me and my garrulous cabby, and they cheered, laughed, and wished me and my minute entourage the best. So merrily we rolled along until we reached the red carpet. I paid the driver in the cab and paid him lavishly. He leapt out, opened the door, gave me a broad smile and a deep bow, hoping that perhaps I'd leave him the entry pass, but I wanted it as a souvenir too. And so as the guardsman saluted, I took my first step on the first red carpet I had ever been on. Nothing like starting at the top. As I ascended, I recalled the scene from the Russian version of War and Peace in 1966, when the young Countess Rostova moves up the grand staircase leading to her first grand ball. It is thrilling, magnificent, perfect for le jour de ma vie. I was young, replete with the highest animal spirits, glad to be here, ecstatic to be here, with a joyous excitement that was pure exultation. God save the Queen! Is that a Harvard tie? As the queue of grandees moved slowly up, conversations broke out between the guests. The blue-haired lady behind me acted completely unlike we are told Brits act. She cast a glance at me and said, "A Harvard tie." It was. I responded, "How did she know?" Her son had gone. Ah. Thus began the most amicable of relationships with the most charming and practical of ladies, the Lady Whitby. She remarked on both of us being present alone and proposed a deal. She would introduce me to everyone, her word, if I would be her escort for the afternoon. I didn't have to think twice about this either. Done. I knew nothing about her, of course, but she provided enough details to make it clear that she was a notable personage. She was Ethel Murgatroyd, a qualified surgeon and physician. She was the widow of one of the most distinguished men of his generation, Sir Lionel Ernest Howard Whitby, CVO, MC, British Army officer and academic, Regius Professor of Physics at the University of Cambridge, Master of Downing College, Cambridge, etc., etc. Well might the lady say she'd introduce me to all. But first she wanted me to look at the vibrant tableau before us. She took my arm and bade me see all that was on display, the pomp, the circumstance, a scene worthy of Thackeray. Surely on such a day as this Becky Sharp would have wheedled a ticket from Lord Steyne to attend, or indeed have come without a ticket, for she was an arriviste worth watching. And with that, Lady Whitby and I descended into the crowd where we did the expected thing, scrutinizing those as they scrutinized us. My lady chirping details, piquant and indiscreet about God Save the Queen Incorporated, happy and glorious their way of business. Lady Whitby tugged at my sleeve, and we briskly descended into the 42 acres of gardens right in the middle of London. We needed to step lively, and we did. The sovereign now was walking among her guests, creating memories that would be cherished heirlooms for generations to come, just as she did for me. Royal garden parties have three kinds of guests. The most significant have a lavish tent, lavishly appointed. These worthies are all presented and may even chat with Her Majesty. The second group is made up principally of her good and worthy subjects who have, one way and another, improved the realm, like the Canadian Girl Guides, or the current hero who had rescued his child from certain doom in a deed of daring do. Then there were the people like me who had danced with a man who danced with a girl who danced with the Prince of Wales. The Queen made her gracious progress through the ranks, the crowd sticking to her like so many post-it notes. Then she saw Lady Whitby, who had a practiced way of arriving just where she needed to be at just the right time. Her Majesty saw and clearly recognized her, passing a friendly comment of the nice to see you variety. In her turn, Lady Whitby sank in a live curtsy that belied her years. My young American friend, she advised. Majesty, Mr. Lant. I got a smile too, and so the cat did look at the Queen, who knew the value of anything she might do. She had the divinity that doth hedge, and I was grateful that it touched me. Oh, yes, I did bow from the neck. Being American, I didn't have to, but I reckoned it a gracious thing to do, especially being the fact that I am a son of the American Revolution. George Washington took command of the Continental Army outside the window where I am writing for you now. We won that fracas. No need to remind her I have my gracious manners too. Regina Regicide. Lady Whitby and I, having succeeded in our mission, repaired to the nosh table, both tucking in with a will. Social climbing is arduous, meticulous work, with pins called for to refresh, and the best cucumber sandwiches a hungry lad could wolf down. We could now find a comfy place under the great trees, and exchange the tales which so gratify ladies of the blue-haired ilk and cultural historians who, if they're smart, always remember the ladies. I always do. The conversation was smooth, laced with humor, clever repartee the order of the day, until she revealed a most important fact of historical significance, namely the murder of King George V with a death-delivering injection of morphine and cocaine. It was delivered by Queen Mary, and delivered by it was authorized by Queen Mary, and delivered by Lord Dawson of Penn, 1864 to 1945, physician to the royal family and a president of the Royal College of Physicians. Sir Lionel Whitby was part of this team and was in a position to confirm this hottest of scandals, then known only to a handful of people and now to me. I had today's headline in my pocket, a guarantee of worldwide coverage, fleeting fame, if I but told what I now knew. Some would have made a different decision, but not me. Done for the best of reasons. King George was, so the story goes, about to die, his life moving peacefully towards its close, in Lord Dawson's graceful words. He should know. He administered the two injections to his sovereign, who had still been able to hold a session with his Privy Council shortly before his expedited demise. Why had this certain act of heinous regicide occurred? His wife wanted the news to appear in the Times, first of all. That, she averred, was more suitable for a great king than papers of lesser standing and prestige. Thus was the fatal thrust delivered, thereby assisting the grim reaper and the titled press lords of Fleet Street, who may have known but did not say. And so the new Queen Dowager got the press time she wanted, no one the wiser. I was in this secret now, and kept the faith these 40 years. I have my own take on this matter. I believe that dose was so ordered by command of Queen Mary as a kind of comeuppance to the King Emperor. He had so long oppressed her, denying whatever she might do that was not rigid and controlled, right down to hairstyle, frock length, and even what music she could play. The day she warbled, "Yes, we have no bananas," in 1922 on the ukulele, His Majesty went apoplectic. "You forget yourself, Mary," being the mildest of his explosive expostulations. She was little better than a high-class geisha who had married to please everyone but herself and lived to pay an imperial price. No wonder she became nervous and stressed. No wonder at all, for His Majesty was a control freak, and the people he most wanted to control were his wife and his son, the Prince of Wales. Their perfect lives, anything but. In the end, she may have relished her dark role as regicide. I have no proof of this, of course. And if I did, I would have to keep it safe and sound. But as her nemesis, the Duchess of Windsor, Queen Mary's detested daughter-in-law, wrote in 1956, the heart has its reasons. What I do know for certainty is this: the New York Times didn't publish the facts until November 28, 1986, years after I knew the dastardly deed would kill the king. Then it was over. I thank Lady Whitby for her every kindness, and she did the one uncertain thing that showed I was in. For she invited me to luncheon the next Sunday, her grace and favor apartment once occupied by George III's father, Frederick, Prince of Wales, at Hampton Court Palace, who of Fred, once alive, now dead, 1707, 1751. Life is full of surprises like this if you are open to them. It is one of my best traits that I was open to them then, and I am open to them now. Once Lady Whitby left, I was alone in the most famous palace on earth, and here the Brits astonished me again. For no one, no undercover agent, no authority figure at all made themselves known, and that unnerved me not a little, for I was used to the unending layers of security at the White House, each new layer making us less secure than before. The Windsors, by contrast, bet that generations of service would provide better security than thousands of hovering officers with the latest gizmo, everything in their back pocket but security. Alone amidst the grandeur, I took the occasion to visit the throne room. Quite alone and apprehensive about the lack of expected guards, I made a point of gazing at every celebrated picture, not just perusing but drinking in the serene, exalted perceptions painted by Franz Xaver Winterhalter, 1805, 1873. It was one of the high points of my life. Then the guards saluted me one last time as I made my way out of the precincts of majesty out to the Mall. I had an engagement at the Royal Academy of Art, but no funds for a taxi. It was a glorious day, however, and so I walked, everyone knowing from whence I came. Then I became sharply aware that the sole of one shoe had become loose and made a slurping noise as I walked. I picked up some string in the street and solved the problem. For after all, I am that Yankee Doodle dandy. I am that Yankee Doodle boy.
Thank you, Dr. Lant. Now the secret is out. And thank you for that wonderful reading and taking us to Buckingham Palace.